that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy. We prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts. And guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist now.
Are you admitting that, that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
There's nothing quite like a live TV debate to ignite the political arena. And the recent CNN face-off between Scott Jennings and Liz Smith was pure fire. Far from a routine panel segment, this was a full-blown political clash that exposed everything from legal strategies surrounding Trump to the growing fissures within the Democratic Party. Scott Jennings entered the studio, cool, composed, and razor-sharp, most like a professor, methodically dismantling flawed arguments. Liz Smith, the outspoken Democratic strategist, brought her signature confidence and combativeness, but this time, it wasn't quite enough. Jennings didn't need volume or theatrics. His quiet command of the facts and firm grasp of political history gave him the edge, countering Smith's fiery rhetoric with calm, cutting precision. While Smith pushed her narrative with energy and conviction, she often found herself reacting rather than leading. This wasn't a shouting match, it was a study in contrasts. And beyond the entertainment value, it gave viewers something much more valuable: a raw, unscripted glimpse into the real pressures and weaknesses confronting both parties in today's political climate.
Scott Jennings, I actually want to start with you on this because it feels like one of those situations where the politics of this, if a Democrat were in office trying to put their policies through the courts and, the courts out of Texas said, nope, you can't do it, you would be totally fine with a nationwide injunction that says, you know what, we're going to challenge this in the courts. What has changed?
I actually disagree. I don't think these individual district court judges, no matter who the president of the United States is, ought to be able to overrule the president. I respect the Supreme Court, but individual district court judges that are easily venue shopped, which is what's happening to Donald Trump right now, can go out and effectively grind an administration to a halt, run out the clock, be a boat anchor around a popularly elected president. So I don't agree with that. And I just think Trump's got a great argument. I think any president would have a good argument on this. I think the Supreme Court, I don't know what they're going to do on the birthright citizenship issue, of which there's also a good argument for, by the way. But on this nationwide injunction thing, I'm with the president on this. And, future implications aside, I think this is the real constitutional crisis, are judges usurping the power of the president.
Liz Smith, how do you see it? And especially, there are so many layers of politics here, right? The fact that President Trump is trying to put birthright citizenship into question. Another example of, he moves the Overton window quite regularly on a wide variety of issues. But of course, he's been, the American public has been closer to Donald Trump on immigration of late than they have to the Democrats.
The most intense exchange of the night centered on the judiciary, specifically the growing use of nationwide injunctions. Scott Jennings argued that these sweeping court orders have become political tools, especially during the Trump administration, where strategically chosen judges were used to block entire policies. Far from being neutral safeguards, he claimed, they were wielded to obstruct a president's ability to govern. Jennings laid out how legal opponents used venue shopping to funnel cases into favorable courts, effectively tying up Trump's agenda across the country. Liz Smith came back forcefully, defending the judiciary as a critical check on executive overreach. Without these legal guardrails, she warned, any president could steamroll the Constitution. Her arguments were sharp and deliberate, but Jennings didn't back down. He countered that perpetual legal blockades don't ensure good governance, they paralyze it. From there, the conversation pivoted to Trump's personal legal battles. Smith cast them as the long-overdue consequences of reckless behavior, saying the justice system was finally holding him accountable. Jennings responded by pointing to Trump's continued political relevance. Despite the investigations, indictments, and court appearances, he noted, Trump remains a dominant force. Facts, Jennings said, can't be erased by narrative, and Trump's Resilience is proof that the political fight is far from one-sided.
Why are they angry? Because the party isn't being ornery enough in Washington and liberal enough? I mean, that's just it, right? The lesson that the base has learned from the last election is we're just not far left enough. And until you shed your allegiance to illegal aliens, boys and girls sports, and higher taxes, the American people do not want this. And it doesn't matter who you nominate, because if the base is going to push the nominee of the Democratic Party in those three directions, and I have no reason to believe that they won't do that in the 2028 primary, you're going to have a devil of a time convincing people that you can actually act normal during a
split up the Democratic base, though, because they lost a lot of those voters, working class people of color in cities who were to the traditional Democratic base. I think what you're talking about is the echo chamber that happened among a specific college-educated liberal crowd, and that has gotten more voice in that party and pushed them in a direction that disconnects them from what I would call their base.
And why Democrats are mad, why the base is mad at some of the leaders in Washington is not because they're not left enough. It's because, Chuck Schumer came out with no strategy, no forewarning, and just said, we're going to fold on the CR. I mean, I think he could have done a better job of explaining what the strategy was and what we're going to do, but there wasn't anything like that. I think Democrats are learning, and I'm going to agree with you, that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy, we prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts, and guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist right now.
Are you admitting that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
It was a Democratic prosecutor, and at the time, I thought it was unwise. I went on Fox News and said
There were Democrats who said this at the time.
There were a lot.
Just to be clear, everybody who now touts the 34 felonies, take it from Liz. This was not a real case. This was a plot to upend the presidential.
When the debate turned to immigration, the tension ratcheted up. Liz Smith launched a fierce critique of Trump's push to challenge birthright citizenship, calling it a dangerous and unconstitutional overreach. She framed the issue not just as a legal fight, but as a test of national values, arguing it was about human decency and the soul of American identity. Scott Jennings didn't flinch. He pushed back, arguing that immigration reform is long overdue and that Trump's approach, while politically charged, aimed to restore fairness and sustainability to a broken system. Symbolism, he said, wasn't the point, action was. And in the face of congressional gridlock, executive orders were often the only tool available to move the needle. Liz fired back, calling many of Trump's moves more theatrical than effective. But Scott pointed to real outcomes, executive actions that tightened enforcement and slowed illegal crossings. The two clashed over whether Trump had delivered lasting structural change or just stirred political controversy.